Hey folks, it's Professor Chaucer, and this is just a brief little discussion really about the LaCharity book and what it has for you. This is your lecture for week 7 after the exam, so don't forget to do your attestation after you have, either if you haven't done it now or after you listen to this recording. All right, so week 7, we just want to touch on the importance of prioritization, delegation, and assignment. And you already know the importance of that because we have talked about delegation and how important that is to you, not only to you, but to our patients and to your staff members that may be working under you one day. All right, so, and I know we've talked about the book before, the LaCharity book, and it's got great stuff in it. I sure hope you have spent some time in it already, getting to understand the format of the questions asked, because you'll see that type of format again. Certainly some things to be familiar with. You already know these. There should be familiar topics to you. Assignment and how that differs from delegation. Remember that assignment is what we do routinely. It is activities, procedures within the scope of practice for the RN, LPN, or part of the routine of the UAP. Remember, we talked about the example that a assignment could even be created in advance of the shift, getting there by the shift before, and how that differs from delegation. Delegation, allowing a delegate to perform a specific nursing activity, skill, or procedure that's beyond their traditional role, not routinely performed, but they must be competent in it, as shown by something such as extra training and skill validation. Remember, we talked about there probably having to be a written document on file on that unit or in the hospital that shows that they're competent. Rights of delegation, we talked about right task, right circumstance, right person, right communication, and right supervision. And if you have any questions about those things, they are really kind of foundational. Let me know and we'll talk about them some more. And we can bring that discussion into the classroom. So if any one of you has a desire to talk more about it, send me a message and I'll build it into one of our future lectures. Prioritization, so important because it's really ranking things in order of importance. And for us as nurses, we're going to prioritize all day long. You're prioritizing as a student, right? You're prioritizing your kids, your husband, your family, your work, your school, everything gets prioritized. And it's no different in a hospital when we're caring for patients. And even more important that you're good at the skill as you climb up the chain, because once you're supervising nurses, then you're thinking about their prioritization as well as yours. And supervision, that active process. I love that word active in there because it is not a sit behind the desk with my door closed type of thing. It is an active thing. Directing, guiding, influencing the outcome of an individual's task, which you just can't do from behind a door. Not to say that there shouldn't be some behind the door time for nurse managers and leaders, because we have absolutely a lot of obligations in documentation and counseling, things that have to be done with the door shut. Okay, a couple of examples. Here, the nurse is caring for a patient with esophageal cancer. Which task can be delegated to assistive personnel? And remember that AP or UAP, you'll see those interchangeable. You might see nursing assistants. There's just a lot of terms we use for that, unlicensed personnel. So if we're talking about assisting with oral hygiene, observing response to feedings, evaluating risk for aspiration, initiating weight measurements as needed. And we're asking in this question one thing. Choose one. Choose the best thing that can be delegated to assistive personnel. So think about that for a minute before we go on to the answer so that you know what you would choose. All right, and this is a delegation question, of course, and the answer is that first one. Oral hygiene is within the scope of duties for the AP, and the nurse would give the AP specific instructions related to that esophageal cancer. Yes, there is a illness related to the oral cavity, but still It's within the scope of practice for the AP to be able to do oral care, especially with instruction from the nurse. Responsibility of the nurse to observe the response to treatments, evaluate the risk of aspiration. So those two choices couldn't be delegated. And the AP can be directed to weigh the patient, but would not be expected to know when to initiate the measurements. So the thing that made that answer incorrect was initiating the weight measures as needed. So how do they know? That's a nursing thought process question there, or action. Okay, which task should the nurse delegate to the newly hired AP? Newly hired AP. And this is a select all that apply. I know how much we like those. Remember, you're going to make each one of those a true or false question. Asking Mrs. S memory testing questions. Teaching Miss J about treadmill exercise testing. Checking vital signs on all 6 patients. Recording oral intake and urine output for Mr. B. Assisting Mr. L to walk to the bathroom, and helping Mr. R with morning care. So think about that. Which ones would you choose more if you were choosing all that apply on what you could delegate? And we see the textbook answer, 3, 4, 5, and 6. There's a lot of choices there, 6 choices, and a lot of them are chosen. So assessment and teaching, more appropriate to the educational preparation of the licensed nursing staff. Check vital signs, monitoring and recording intake and output, assisting the patients to the bathroom, and helping patients with morning care, all within the AP's scope of practice. So those are just a couple of examples related to delegation. But your whole LaCharity book is just chock full of great stuff for you. Really giving you those type of questions that include choose all that apply, help you see the correct answers and why, and will help prepare you not just for the HESI, but for the NCLEX. All right, for anyone that's working on your Week 7 paper, I just want to go over a couple of things. Remember, you've got a sample paper format in the announcement. My recommendation is that you just save that sample paper as your own, and then type right into it, because it's got the headings that you need for APA format, it's got the format for the cover page, and it shows you the reference page as well. Remember, APA format, you need centered, bolded headings for level 1 APA headings, and you absolutely need in-text citations throughout your paper as well that match the references that you choose. Remember, you need at least 2 references. So in this assignment, you remember you're choosing a journal article on nursing leadership styles, and that article can be on one leadership style or multiple leadership styles. It needs to be from a professional, peer-reviewed nursing journal. There are some exceptions. Sometimes you'll find a really good journal article from outside of nursing, but another healthcare profession. For example, I looked at one today from a psychology journal, and it was really about what we do in nursing and the leadership styles. So a couple of exceptions to that is just let me know if you have questions. It needs to be published within the last 5 years and peer-reviewed. You're going to write a paper that includes a cover page, a reference page, and probably at least 2 pages in between, maybe 3, depending on how much you want to write. There is no page limit, regardless of what the instructions say. You can write as much as you want, but you do want to write enough to cover the topics you've been asked. You need to make each of your paragraphs a nice, solid 5 to 7 sentence paragraph, so that you're fully describing, introduce your topic in the first sentence, fully describing what you're talking about, in-text citations to support it, and then sum up each paragraph before you go on to the next. You're going to write in the first paragraph, and you certainly can have more than 1 paragraph that does this, it's up to you, but that first section is summarizing the major points of the article. When you do that, you need to let the reader know that you're talking about the author of the article and their comments. So you'll make comments like, the article entitled blank was reviewed, and the authors stated that the main purpose of the article was this. And so you need to make it sound as though you're reviewing an article and what the main points of it were. Like I said, a nice full paragraph or two for that first section where you summarize the main points of the article. If you're summarizing a research article, and some of you will choose research articles, you do not have to, but if you're summarizing a research article, then you need to tell me what type of research it was, a quantitative research article with 37 participants and data collected using a survey. It was analyzed in some way, and the recommendations and the findings were whatever. So that's the first section. In the second section, you're going to answer whether you support the leadership style and why or why not. So if you chose an article on one leadership style, then of course you're going to talk about that leadership style and whether you support it and why. If you chose an article that has multiple leadership styles, and there's plenty of those out there, then just choose one leadership style to talk about whether you support it or not and why. Again, nice solid paragraph or two there in that section. And then the last section is about how this article and the leadership style or styles in it can be applied to nursing practice. Again, a nice full paragraph, 2 paragraphs, 3 paragraphs, whatever you need in that section to talk about how it will apply, how it can be applied to nursing practice. And make sure you have in-text citations to support what you're saying. You're going to tie that article right back into the paper that you're writing through in-text citations. You got to have at least 2 sources in this. Your article is going to be one, and then you can use your textbook as a second or any other professional resource that is related to healthcare, specifically nursing if you can, and healthcare for sure. You want to use APA format. You've got good examples of that in that sample paper. Happy to help if you have questions. I do recommend, I plan to be traveling this weekend, so if you have any questions, text me at 803-608-8069. Remember, you've got a format for your rubric. A rubric format that tells you how you can be graded. You need to make sure that reference is from a about nursing leadership within the last 5 years peer-reviewed journal. You've got what you need for the first paragraph, concise summary of the key points, clear and focused with details. Second section, supporting or not supporting the leadership style addressed, and remember, just choose one style to talk about there. Clear and logical discussion. And then writing is related to nursing practice and demonstrates analysis and an application. I guarantee you cannot write something that addresses and includes an analysis unless you write a solid paragraph or 2 about how to apply that to nursing practice. And then, of course, do a good spell check. Look to make sure that your references are incorrect, hanging indent, and APA format. I always recommend to students read your paper aloud. Make sure that it sounds logical and that you haven't misspelled or miswritten things as you go. And that's it. Don't forget to attest. Easy to forget to attest the live class when we're doing test day. So don't forget, go back and attest if you haven't done that yet. Let me know if you have questions. Hope you have a great weekend.